your Modi method is used to find the optimum solution. So once we find the initial feasible solution, the basic feasible solution, we use the Modi method to find the optimum solution of the given problem. Okay. As you know, the first step in your Modi method is first of all to check whether it is a feasible solution. And you know that what is the formula to check the basic feasible solution? The number of occupied cells should be equal to M plus N minus 1. That is rows plus columns minus 1. If it is equal, that means it's a feasible solution. Okay. Then we go ahead and determine the values of row numbers and the column numbers, which is represented by Ui and Vj. Okay. The formula which we used to calculate the values of the row numbers and the column numbers is Cij equal to Ui plus Vj. Okay. And it has to be used only for the occupied cells. So whenever you are finding the values of row numbers and the column numbers, see that you make use of the occupied cells and the cost which is given in that particular cell. Okay. To begin with, you have to initialize one of these variables, either Ui or Vj. Let us say U1, U2, or whatever variables you have. Select any one of them and assign it to 0. Clear? Now, it is recommended that you select a variable such that you have maximum number of allocations in that particular row or the column. Even if you do not do that, still you're going to get the values of the U's and the V's. Okay. But it is recommended that you select the row or the column having maximum number of allocations. Clear? Then you can go ahead and consider the unoccupied cell and find the opportunity cost for each of them by using the formula given to you, which is Cij bar equal to Cij minus into bracket Ui plus Vj. Now this value, what is actually this value? This value tells me if my opportunity cost is positive, that means if I make some allocation in that cell, my cost is going to get increased by that much of, you can say, units. If my Cij bar or your opportunity cost is negative, that indicates that if I assign some units in that cell, my cost can be reduced further. Fine. So what we do is, once we find the value of all the unoccupied cells, that is your Cij bar, we check whether we have any negative values. Okay. So if all the opportunity costs are positive, as I told you, if it is positive, that means we have arrived at optimum solution. But if at least one is negative, then it implies that the solution is not the optimum solution and there is a scope of improvement. And if there is a scope of improvement, then we go to the next step. What is the next step? We select the cell with the highest negative opportunity cost. Okay. And that means in this cell, I can make some allocations. To make the allocations, we create a closed path, or you can call it as a loop. Okay. So starting from this cell which we have selected, the unoccupied cell which we have selected, we have to form a closed path such that I have to make use of only vertical and horizontal lines, and I can turn only at the occupied cell. Right? So if I'm making a closed path, the paths or the lines will turn only in the cell which is occupied. Please remember this. You cannot have diagonal lines. Okay, only horizontal or vertical lines. Now assign a positive and a negative signs alternately, starting with what? Starting with the unoccupied cell. So where we are supposed to make the allocation. Okay, you have to start from there first. So put a plus sign there, and alternately you put the negative and the plus signs in the corner cells wherever we are turning. Okay. After that, find the maximum number of units to be shifted to this unoccupied cell which we have selected. Okay. Now this is the least of the number of units in the cells with negative signs. That means if there are 2-3 cells having negative signs, from that you have to select the least number. Okay. Now add this number of units to the cell with positive sign and subtract it from the cell with the negative sign along the closed path. Once we complete this step, we have to again go back to step number 1. Okay. Calculate the values of the row numbers and the column numbers, and again continue till we get the optimum solution. Okay. To take an example, if you remember, we had solved a problem which had 2 rows and 3 columns. Okay. The supply was given to us as 50, 30, demand 25, 45, and 10. And using the northwest corner, I had got a solution. And this was the solution which we had got using the northwest corner. So as you know, the first step is always to check whether it's feasible solution. So we have number of allocated cell as 4 here, and number of rows 2 plus 3 columns, that is 5, 5 minus 1 is 4. So it is a feasible solution. Okay. If it is a feasible solution, go next and find the values of your row numbers and column numbers, which is represented by U's and V's. Okay, so we have U1, U2, and in the column numbers we have V1, V2, and V3. Okay, initialize any one of these variables as 0. So let us take U1 as 0 here. Okay, using U1 as 0, I can find out the value of V1. Okay, because this occupied cell here. So U1 plus V1 should give me 15. Okay, that means if U1 is 0, V1 will be 15. Similarly, I have the cell S1D2 occupied. Okay, 25 is occupied here. Cost is given to us as 30. 30 is equal to 0 plus V2. So V2 will be 30, of course. Now I cannot find the value of V3 using U1. Why? Because I don't have any allocations in S1D3. What we do now is, because we have got the value of V2 and we have an occupied cell in S2D2, I can find out the value of U2. Okay, so U2 plus V2 should give me 40. So U2 is 10. Clear? And now using U2, I have an occupied cell here S2D3. I can find out the value of V3, okay, which will be 35 minus 10. That gives me 25. I hope this is clear, everyone. Going next, I have to find the opportunity cost for the unoccupied cells. Now, in this example, I have only 2 unoccupied cells. S1D3 is the first cell, and S2D1 is my second cell. Okay, so what is the formula here? Using the formula for S1D3, I will write Cij, that is C13 bar equal to 20 minus into bracket, that is U10 plus 25. Okay. So here you can see I have calculated the opportunity cost for both the cells. So C13 is 20 minus into bracket 0 plus 25, which gives me minus 5. Okay. Whereas for C21, we are getting 5 as the opportunity cost. It simply means that if I make some allocations in C13, I can reduce my cost further. Whereas I cannot do any allocation in C21 because it will increase my cost. Okay. Now to perform the allocation, if I have to do it in C13, so 1, 3 here in this cell, I have to draw a closed circuit or a loop. Okay. So if I start the circuit from here, let us go down. So that's my first arrow. I'm coming to 10, and from here, because it's occupied, I can make a turn. I come to the cell S2D2, again turn upwards to go to S1D2, and then finally to the cell from where I have started. Okay, so this completes my loop or the closed circuit or the closed route. Now put the plus and the minus sign, or the positive and the negative sign. Start with the plus sign in the cell from where we have to perform the allocation, the new unoccupied cell. Then alternately you can put the negative and the plus sign. Okay. So this is my loop with the positive and the negative sign. Now look at the cell where we have got the negative sign. So there are only two cells here, and the values are 25 and 10. The least among these two is 10. So I can use 10, assign 10 in the cell where I put the plus sign and which is empty right now, and subtract 10 from the cell which is having the negative sign, and add 10 to the cell which is having the positive sign. So what is going to happen is I'm going to get 10 here in this cell. There won't be any value here. This will be empty now. 20 plus 10 will become 30, and 25 minus 10 will give me 15 here. Okay. So my new cell with the values will be like this. Okay. So this is my new allocated cells. We have 25, 15 and 10 in S1, D3 now. And in S2, D2, I have 30. Again, check whether it is a feasible solution by counting the number of allocated cells, which is 4. And again, m plus n minus 1 is also 4. So it's a feasible solution. Find out the values of u's and v's again. Okay. So I'll quickly find out the values here. So my new values, after assigning u1 equal to 0, I'm getting these values here. Find out the opportunity cost. Now, when I find the new values for C21 bar, I'm getting 5, and for C23 again I'm getting 5. And as both the values are positive values, I can come to the conclusion that the solution which I've got is my optimum solution. Clear? Once I get the optimum solution, I have to find out the total cost involved, and the total cost is coming to 2,225. Okay, and as it is a minimization problem, see that you write min z equal to, or whatever variable you want to use, you can use instead of z some other variable as well. Okay, now if you have any doubts in the Modi method, you can ask me now, and I'll be taking one more example to show you how to create the loop, the closed circuit. Okay, and the example will also cover a case where I might not get a feasible solution. Any doubts? No doubts? Okay, I'll go ahead. We'll take one more example. Now, in this example, which I'm taking, I already have a basic feasible solution. Okay, but the dimension is different now. I have 3 rows and 3 columns. I have been given the requirements. So we have the demand as requirements here, 300, 300 and 300. Okay, which comes to total 900. The availability is 300, 400 and 200. And you add it up, it is 900 again. So it is a balanced problem. Okay. So first I need to check whether it's a balanced problem. Secondly, this is the feasible solution which I have got. And it is feasible because the number of allocated cells, which is 5 here, is equal to m, that is 3, plus 3 minus 1, that is 5. Okay. So I can go ahead and now find out the values of row numbers and the column numbers. So you have the variables u1, u2, u3, v1, v2 and v3. Okay. Assign any one of the variables. Again, I'm going to make use of u1 as 0. And as soon as I put u1 as 0, the cells which are occupied, v1 will be 40 and v2 will be 70. Okay. So here we have v1 as 40 and v2 as 70. Using the value of v1, okay, I have this allocated cells here. I can find out the value of U2. Okay. So U2 will be minus 28. Okay. So minus 28 plus 40 will give me the cost 12. And once we get this value, okay, I can find out the value for V3. Okay. So V3 will be 58. Minus 28 plus 58 gives me 30. Clear? And finally, only one variable is left, U3. We have V2 already assigned as 70 here. So my value for U3 will be 20. Once we get the values of your row numbers and the column numbers, find out the opportunity cost for the cells O1, D3. So this cell here, okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there are 4 cells in which I have to find the opportunity cost. Clear? Let us see what we got. For C13, we got 90 minus 0 plus 58. Okay, that came to 32. Then for C22, okay, we got 80 minus into bracket minus 28 plus 70, which gave me 38. For C31, this cell here, I got 60 minus into bracket 20 plus 40, which gave me 0. Now, please remember, if you get a 0 in any of the opportunity costs, that means we can also have an alternate initial feasible solution here. Okay, that means if I have some allocations in this cell 3-1, okay, there it is not going to affect my cost. Okay, so we can have an alternate solution in this case. Secondly, the last cell, which is C33 here, the cost is coming to minus 33. So this is not my optimum solution. Okay, because we have a negative value, it is not the optimum solution. So what I do is my C33 or the cell O3, D3 can have some allocations. So I need to create a closed circuit from this cell O3, D3. To do that, I will draw a line. So my first line is coming from O3, D3 and going to 200 where I have the allocations. Then from here, I can go to 100 here up because this is allocated cell, right? So I'll draw a row arrow here. Then which is, I cannot go to the right side. My right side, on the left side, I have 200. So I will go here. Again, come down to 100. Then cross over to 300. And finally, come back to the cell from where I have started. So this becomes my closed circuit. Okay. So you can also have a circuit like this. It need not be always a square or a rectangle. It can be a complicated circuit as well. Now put your positive and the negative signs in the alternate cell and begin with the cell where we have to perform the allocation. So you start with plus here and then you can put the plus and negative signs alternately. Look at the values of the cell having the negative sign. So here we have 3 cells. You have your 200, I have a 300 here, and I have a 200 again here. Now, there is a tie between these two values, and the least value is 200. That means I have to subtract 200 from the cells where I put the negative sign and add 200 in the cell where I have the positive sign. Okay. Now, if I add 200 and subtract 200, the final answer which I get is this. Now look at the allocation which has happened. Because there was a tie between 2 cells and that was the least cost, 2 cells do not have any allocations now. Okay. So if I subtract 200 from O1, D1, this will be empty, plus O3 and D2, even this is going to be empty now. And that is the reason the number of allocated cells have reduced, which is 4 now, and it is not equal to m plus n minus 1. That means it is not a feasible solution. Okay, and this type of a form is known as degeneracy form. Okay, to remove this degeneracy, we have to add a dummy value, or you can call it as an epsilon. An epsilon is a value which will hardly play any role in my overall cost. So it is a very small value, you can say. Okay, but where do I add this epsilon? The epsilon has to be added in the empty cell or the unoccupied cell, which is having the least cost. Okay, and the least cost is 40 in this example here. So O1 D1 has the least cost and it is unoccupied. So I can add an epsilon here. So this is my epsilon. Once I add the epsilon, the number of allocated cells are now 5, and then we come to the initial feasible solution. And then we can go ahead with the Modi method again, go to step number 1, find out the values of row numbers and the column numbers. So again, we find out U1, U2, U3, start with U1 equal to 0. Okay. As soon as we do that, we get the value of V1 and V2, which is 40 and 70. Using V1, which is 40, I can find out the value of U2, which is minus 28 now. Using minus 28, I can find out the value of V3, which is coming to 58. And finally, using 58, I can find out the value of U3, which is coming to minus 30. Now, after you get all these values, what is the next step? Finding out the opportunity cost for the unoccupied cells. And I found out the values, and all the values this time are positive. Okay, we don't have any negative values. That means this is my optimum solution. Okay, and because this is the optimum solution, and we also have an epsilon, which is representing a very negligible value or very small value, which is not going to play any role in my calculation. Okay, there is a bottleneck there. Okay, so you might get a problem where to get the feasible or to get the initial optimum solution, you have to add an epsilon so that it is an optimum solution. Okay, there is a video which I have made especially on the degeneracy form and how to remove the degeneracy. It can happen that I might not get the optimum solution after adding the epsilon. I might have to go one more step further, okay, and perform the further calculations. And I might be able to remove this epsilon from my initial feasible solution. Okay. Now, those who have any doubts can post the doubts here. I'll stop the screen share. Okay. Those who have a problem or any questions, you can ask me now. There's one question which is already there in the chat. Let me answer that. It is from Pallavi. Can we take 0 for any value of use? Okay. Pallavi, you can decide any of the values. Any variable, you can assign it to 0. Clear? So there's no rule that you have to select a variable which is having maximum allocations. Excuse me. Okay. So randomly or you can pick up any one of the variables, assign 0 to it, and calculate your other values. Any other questions? Okay, if there are no questions, I am sharing one link, a video link. I want you all to go through that. Okay, it is about, okay, while there's a question, while calculating final cost, now will we calculate the cost for epsilon? No, not at all, because epsilon, as I told you, will not play any role in the cost. Okay, it is a value which is very negligible. So do not consider epsilon while calculating your final cost. Okay, there's a same question from Advait as well. I hope this is clear. Any other doubts? Okay, no doubts. I'm sharing the link with you all. Please go through this video, and when we come next, okay, we will see more problems on transportation. Especially we are going to see some special cases of transportation problems, which is a maximization problem we are going to see, and we are also going to see prohibited allocations as well. Okay, so let me share a problem on transportation, which is for a unbalanced problem. I'm sharing it for unbalanced problem. Okay, and next time when we come, we'll see some other problems as well.